Test, test. Is my mic? Okay, before I get going, we're going to do a selfie with all of you guys. Screw Bradley Cooper. We're going to do better than that. All right, hey, Stan's just finished the meeting, so he said, Todd, go warm him up. So he's gonna make it here. He moves a little bit slow. So I'll just tell you some silly stories, do some goofy stuff, and then when Stan gets here, we'll hand it over to the guy, and I'll do an interview with him. Let me just tell you my introduction to Stan Lee. I'm 16 years old. I started collecting at about 15, 16, and so I become a fanatic. I start collecting everything that's on the marketplace. I'm also an athlete. I played Pac-10 baseball, right? I wanted to be center field for somebody, and I just wasn't good enough. But I ended up going down to Florida on a baseball tryout, tournament, whatever, and we did our baseball stuff, and then we had to go to the hotel, and we had to catch a plane back, I'm Canadian, back up to Canada that night. And we go back to the hotel, and all of a sudden, for some of you older people out there, they used to, which is surprising when I look here, they used to hold these conventions in hotels, small little Holiday Inns, right? And they put up a little sign saying Comic Convention down in that room. So it's true, some of you old folks, right? They used to be small. So I'm at this Holiday Inn and I'm walking, and all of a sudden I see the sign that says Comic Convention. And I go, wow, what's the chances on my last day here in Florida I get to go to a convention, a comic book convention? It's the first one I ever went to. And they don't have a lot up in Canada at that point. I go in there, I meet a bunch of people, and then one of the booths that was table, maybe it was about half the side, that was sitting just outside, there's a guy there, Stan Lee. First time I met him. I'm 16 years old at that point. I stand off to the side for about an hour, and I just listen to him with his enthusiasm, and then, like any geeky fan, I basically ask the question that all of you guys would have asked. Is it okay if I sit here for the rest of the day next to you? And he went, yeah, sure, I don't care. So literally, ladies and gentlemen, he was here, his line was coming, and I was here. People kept asking who I was, and he'd be like, I don't know. And for the whole day, I sat there as a 16-year-old just listening to all the questions that he got peppered with, and all the answers he gave. And as a guy that was, in a couple years, going to start sending out my samples, I learned more in those 2 or 3 hours that I just sat by his side. And I remember some of the answers. I actually started applying some of those answers onto my artwork, so that fast forward, I start sending off my samples with some of those answers that I heard in my head as a 16-year-old. I get a job, fast forward a little bit more, I'm doing Spider-Man, fast forward a little bit more, I get to meet Stan, and we've been fast friends ever since, which is why a lot of times he asked me to get up on stage here and help with the conversation, because he is very good, ladies and gentlemen, at making me understand that I am the Robin in the Batman and Robin partnership. He will always flex the symbol, and you'll see it a couple times here. I'm going to give a secret away because he's going to come here and he likes to make you guys feel good. He likes to make himself feel good, and then he doesn't really care much about me. And so we'll have a little bit of fun with that. Stan also, it was this interesting thing that we used to talk about when I was in my heyday doing Spider-Man, that we were talking about the movie coming up, and now we're going to go back for all you people who've obviously seen, let's instead of raise your hand who's seen the Spider-Man movie, let's ask the opposite. Who in this room has not seen a Spider-Man movie? Oh, Helen Keller on the back there, I see her. All right, so everybody's seen it. So what was happening was, and I'm going back now 25 years now maybe, I don't know if you guys know, but the franchise was in legal turmoil. What had happened was somebody owned the rights, and then about 6 other companies said that they owned the rights, and it was just a headache. And they couldn't get a Spider-Man movie off the ground for about a decade, right? For about a decade they were fighting globally. 6 companies globally, because just when they tied all the rights up in the US, somebody then on the other side of the world said, no, I have the rights to Spider-Man. You can't make that movie. And the only reason I bring that up, it is one of the few times, matter of fact, maybe the only time, that I can say thank you to the lawyers. Because if they had made, no, here's why I say that. Because if they had made that movie back then, the technology wasn't there. It would have been nearly as cool back then. Because they can't do, and that would have been like 88 to 92 era. They couldn't have made the movies that they made today. So that they fought legally for 15 years and dragged it into the years 2000 and more. That movie now can look cool. So for the lawyers out there, thank you, because it's going to be the only time I'm going to thank you for getting into a big argument, because it made the Spider-Man movie much better. Now, for me, in my Spider-Man days, here's how it sort of went, ladies and gentlemen. I got the job of Spider-Man. Spider-Man, and it may seem sort of odd, was not even a top 10 selling book at that point at Marvel. The sales had been plummeting. And they came in, and it was a good time to be there, right? I'm going to give you guys a word of advice. If you're ever going to take over a job, make sure you take over the job of the guy who just did a horrible version of it, right? You look good. You look good. Never follow Jim Lee or Frank Miller or any of those guys. Never follow the big shots, right? Always follow the small shots, because you always look better. I always say, you want to look smart, hang around dumb people or 5-year-olds, right? You hang around 5-year-olds, you know, 4 times 4, 16. Come on. So I was on the book, and the luck that I had was that they said, the book is not selling, do something. So this is weird. If I had actually come on the book at a time that the book was selling, they wouldn't have said that. They would have basically said, just keep doing what was successful, the guys before you. And so they came there, and they said, do whatever you want to do. I had the fortune to be able to do it for a couple of years. And I was able to make a decent career. And with that, let's talk about the man who actually co-created Spider-Man. There's nobody in this room who has not been touched by the gentleman I'm going to bring up here real quick, so we won't belabor the point. He is, ladies and gentlemen, truly, he's a living legend. You can't say that about too many people. This man is a living legend. Everybody in this room is here for a reason, because somewhere along the line, this man's creation has touched your life. And there's not a creative person that's in that room down below who also hasn't touched him. He's co-created Iron Man, Thor, Fantastic Four, a bunch of the guys in the Avengers, Spidey. I mean, I'm going to miss the Hulk. I'm going to miss them all, right? So we're going to bring them up. But to you guys out there, especially the young kids, he's that old dude that's in all those Spider-Man or those superhero movies, Mr. Stan Lee.
Listen to McFarlane for a while, because then you'll appreciate me when I come. And forgive me, I know it must have been an ordeal for you, but at least now we're on the right track. Why are you there and I'm here? Why aren't we together?
I'm moving his back so these people have to flip the corner of the table. Here, come sit down, we'll have a chat.
Are you going to sit down?
We'll be like between two ferns. Between two ferns, sit down.
I need a connection to the table in front of me. We're too vulnerable this way. All right, what the hell?
Okay, so let's ask the first obvious question that they're all begging to ask you right now, Stan. What's it like being you?
It's wonderful. I can't describe it. The glory, the grandeur. What the hell are you talking about?
I don't know if you guys know, Stan was in San Francisco yesterday, throwing out the first pitch at the Giants ball.
The San Francisco Giants.
Actor Michael Rooker from Walking Dead was down here, and Michael's been sitting down in the green room making excuses why he couldn't catch Stan's fastball. So
I begged Michael to be here instead of what's his name, but Michael obviously had more important things to do. I got stuck with. I'll remember your name soon. What is it you do again?
I just copied some of the crap you did.
This guy. This guy did the best-selling Spider-Man book of all time. And I was like, Ellis, I didn't talk to him for 5 years.
All right, so look at everybody, whether you're old or you're young, at some point you got to go out into the world try to get a job, right? I mean, arguably one of the most difficult things you have to do. I've written before how I got rejected hundreds of times. So see if you can just tell people how you got your introduction into the business and how tough of a road it was and how many doors you got closed on your face before they finally
Well, it was
said.
easy for me. I started out as a lowly assistant. People realized how brilliant I was, and before you knew it, I was the editor and art director. He's got to learn how to cut a story short. I heard him before going on and on and on in his history, and I heard the sound of snoring in the audience. And I said, I've got to come up here and rescue you, because I care for you people. By the way, let me take the pain and the injury out of what I just said. Let me say something nice. I have something for you that you don't expect. Now, this is going to be a very touching moment. You're in for a real event that you're going to see right now. Nobody ever gives this man anything because nobody likes him, but I have something for you. Mac. No, not Mac. Max. I forgot his name. Max, would you please bring the something out? Stand up. Take the mic. Look what I got for him. A Spider-Man guitar. He is so awed, he is so overwhelmed by gratitude. What's he doing? Are you going to play it for us? All right. Well, I thought it would really cause more of a stir than that. I mean, if that's how emotional you're going to get, I'm going to take the damn thing back.
All right, let's go back to the early 60s.
I mean, that's it with the guitar. We planned it, we rehearsed it for hours, that we give him the guitar and he would melt in a sea of emotion and gratitude. Oh boy, this is why I have no use for the man.
You can see he's a writer. He likes to embellish, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go back to the 60s now. 60s, there's again for I don't know how old and how much people read history. Comic books sort of are in their zenith in the 30s and the 40s. And then in the 50s, we get in trouble with comic books, right? We have the Congress as their hearing. Dr. Worthing comes in and says the comic books are distorting the mind.
He says to be right, but he doesn't wait for an answer. He keeps going on and on. You let this man have the stage. You give him a microphone. I could leave and have lunch and just do me. He wouldn't know I was gone. Go ahead. To rescue them for you, and I still can't shut them up. I mean, to rescue them from you.
So let's see if we can answer at least one question before these good people have to go here. So, in the 60s,
And they don't have to go, they're going because you won't stop talking. I know, I am adorable.
all right, let's see if we can get one question answered. In the 60s, but again, they have a convention.
That's your question. They're supposed to answer.
No, we're going to get to that.
Oh, really?
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to your questions in a bit. But here's the thing. I mean, look, they all know you from your Marvel work, and for all intents and purposes, it's the 60s character. So talk to us about Congress coming out, having all literally having to reinvent Marvel. How did you guys go about reinventing Marvel, and ultimately you creating all those characters?
I don't know what he's talking about. Congress wanted to do something and I had to reinvent Marvel.
No, you're right. So Marvel comes along, right? So Marvel, can you
Oh, let me tell you something about Marvel, reinventing it. I mean, you've gotten used to his dull stories, now I'll tell you a good one. We changed our name to Marvel when our superheroes started selling well. We were called Atlas Comics. And when we had the Fantastic Four and then the X-Men and Spider-Man and so forth, I said, I'm going to change the name of the company and give it some excitement. So I called it Marvel, because I love advertising. And with a name like Marvel, you can come up with phrases like, make mine Marvel. Welcome to the Marvel Age of Comics. You know, stuff like that. Now, our competition was then called National Comics. They always followed whatever I did. So they said, in their brilliance, hey, Stan Lee changed the name of his company, let's change our name. Now here's the part that's gonna get you. We came up with the name Marvel, which is so great to use in ads and so forth. What did they come up with? DC. Welcome to the DC Age of Comics. Make mine DC. I mean, it was so easy for us to do better than them. All right, now tell one of your dull stories.
So now you've got Marvel, and now you've got to come up with basically a band of new characters. So walk us through the process of what it was like, because it seemed like you were throwing out a lot of ideas to those creative guys, the artists at that point, that were having to take all your crazy ideas. And I mean, within the span, all those characters I just mentioned earlier came out in a span of about 3 years. So why was that so prolific at that point?
Well, he started to say, what was it like? And I'll show you why I'm such a good guest up on a platform like this. It was nice. I can't answer that question. You know, when you're a genius, you tend to explain it.
Einstein too, right?
The funny thing is, here I am bragging. This man did our best-selling comic. He's a writer, he's an artist. He has a zillion-dollar toy business. He makes toys. He is so goddamn successful that I hate him. And that's why I'm talking. I'm so jealous of him. But aside from that, I like him if I can only remember his name. What was the question? 91.
91 years old!
Everybody thinks I'm only 89. A youthful 89.
When I was younger going to conventions, I would stand from a distance watching Stan. I got to tell you guys, there were about 3 models that I looked at to go, if I ever get on the other side of that table, I'm going to act like that person, right? And one of them was Stan, because if any of you guys had the good fortune to be in his line or whatever else, he is figured out, and if you guys ever get there, I don't care if it's in comic books or some other field, you make the people who put money in your pockets feel as good about themselves as possible in that short period of time that we have with you. I gotta tell you, a lot of celebrities don't understand that concept, so I'd like to applaud you for being so gracious to the fans for decades and decades. 16-year-old kid just sit by his side all day long and pepper him with questions. I mean, that's what he did for me, and he would have done the same for you if you'd been in that exact same spot. So, hey, let's talk about your cameos. All the ones that you've done.
Cameos?
Starring roles.
Those happen to be roles in a movie which are condensed because the stars of the movies are jealous and don't want me to have too much time. Sort of like Academy Award Best Supporting Actor, right? A new category, really? A new category. So now let me tell you why those cameos are so important. Everybody says, why do they give Mr. No Talent all those cameos? Here's the reason. Somebody goes to the movies to see a Marvel movie. Let's take the new X-Men movie. You go there, you sit through the whole movie, and suddenly you say, I didn't see Stan's cameo. Because I didn't do one. I was out of town when they did it, but that's unimportant. So they say, I didn't see Stan's cameo. Well, nobody is going to miss my cameo. They figure maybe I blinked my eye or I reached down for some popcorn. I missed it. So what do? They go to the box office. They buy another ticket. I miss it. So half of the money that Marvel makes from those movies is because of my cameos.
What's your next starring role?
My next starring role will be in the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I did it. I can't tell you what it is, but I have absolutely no idea what that cameo has to do with the movie. You see, I never know what it'll be. The director calls me and says, we want to shoot your cameo. Can you come in on such a date and time? And I go to the wardrobe and I go to makeup. If you can imagine any makeup improving me. I shoot the scene and I say goodbye to everybody and go home. I don't know a damn thing about the movie, but I know about my scene. And I don't know what my scene has to do with the Guardians of the Galaxy, so I'll be as eager as you to find out. Now, if that doesn't bring you into the theater, then I'm a lousy salesman.
Last I heard, the cameo on it is twice as long as most of your others, so it'll be 4 seconds, right? All right. Is this our lineup of questions here?
You're going to have to do me a favor.
Yes.
Again, even though I look so wonderful, I don't hear as well as I used to. I probably won't understand the question. Would you repeat it to me, but not through the mic? Because when you're talking into the mic, I don't understand what you're saying because it muffles your voice for me, for my particular type.
All right, so I will seductively reword it into your ear.
I don't know
I'll take a look. All right. So where are we going to start the questions in? Up over here?
He loves the feeling of power of pointing to people.
We'll get the questions. I'll bring it back to Stan. Yes, sir.
So, question for Stan.
Yes, for Stan. Yes.
Like him, I like your cameos, and I wanted to know which one is your favorite.
Which cameo is my favorite?
Yes.
Don't think I was lying to you just because I heard that. That man speaks very clearly. I think the one I did in Captain America recently where I say I'm so fired. That was real acting because everybody knows I can never do anything to get myself fired. Talented.
Thank you.
All right. Drop over this side. Yes, ma'am.
What's your favorite school subject?
My favorite one?
School subject.
Gee, really, none of them. I hated school. Actually, it was composition. I like to write composition. Nobody ever read them, but I wrote them. And that was it. I was no good at mathematics. History, I have no memory. I couldn't. Even 1492, it took me about 10 years to remember when Columbus discovered America. And the name of his 3 ships, I still don't know. And I wasn't good at most things. But we sang songs. Every week they had a glee club in the school. And they had what they called the listener's row. If you couldn't carry a tune, you had to sit in the listener's row and you had to keep your mouth shut. I was in the listener's row for all the time I was in school. If I even opened my mouth to sing a note, I would throw the whole class off key. I remember that, so that was not my favorite. I didn't have any favorite subjects, I don't think. I hated school. I shouldn't say that to all you young people. You young people there, I loved school. I spent all my time studying and learning. And I was going to say Googling, but they didn't have that thing. You are so lucky they have Google. You don't have to read books. You don't have to study. You just Google it, there it is.
right? And I don't know if this is true, but I remember you saying it on stage one day. It's the reason why there's so many characters that have the same first name and last name with the same initials, right? Sue Storm, Reed Richard, right? Bruce Banner. The reason was
If I remembered one name, I knew the other name began with the same initials. I don't know the word memory. What the hell is this?
Right. Right, but to complicate it more, why was his name Robert Bruce Banner? Because he forgot, and he forgot he gave him two names, so he just added both the names and became Robert Bruce Banner, right?
You're right. I remember getting fan mail from readers. They said, don't you know the names of your own characters? I didn't quite how to respond.
All right, back over here.
Hello, first of all, you look marvelous today.
Sorry, I heard the word marvelous. What was that?
Marvelous.
She said you're a stumble.
Oh, and Mayor, you're a great judge of character. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. My question is, we all think that you're superheroes and that you are our superhero. Who was like your role model and your superhero when you were growing up?
Your voice is beautiful, but it's on a high pitch that I can't.
Who was your role model?
Just tell me. Oh. Every writer who wrote a book that I enjoyed. I loved reading books. And anything by Edgar Rice Burroughs, or who wrote Sherlock Holmes? Forgot that name of my memory. And the guy who wrote about the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I don't remember their names, but all these science fiction writers, and I loved Charles Dickens. I even loved Shakespeare. I couldn't understand really what most of Shakespeare was about when I was a kid, but I loved all that Horatio kind of dialogue, you know? And I loved reading, and every author, Mark Twain, all of them. The guy who wrote The Raven with 3 names, what's his name? Edgar Allan Poe, did I mention him? And I would read these guys and I'd say, how can they do it? Do you remember Edgar Allan Poe's poem? Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells, what a world of monody, the melody Patel. Where did he get a word like monody? Who knows a word like that? And it goes on and on. These guys were geniuses. I think that's what I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a genius, but I only turned out to be a writer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Twain was another one.
Yes, sir.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Leo. I want to say thank you for coming to Phoenix Comicon stand.
You're welcome.
I missed you the last time you were in town, and that made me sad. But now I'm glad. So,
Yeah, I am too.
so my
But
question.
I'm anywhere.
So my question is, there's been many directors that have taken on the Marvel movies, including Bryan Singer, Sam Raimi, and others. Is there
And out loud, I was with them all day yesterday.
How are you guys doing? I said, how are you?
Oh, I'm magnificent. You know that.
Look at all these people out here.
They're all people that followed.
That's what I
You
hear.
should have heard when I came. Oh, Christ, it's Lee. They were having such a good time listening to Todd.
Hey,
Now they'll have a good time with you. I'm going to sit down and rest for one.
I'm thinking we should have this guy do a spawn.
Now you and Todd talk for a
Hey,
while.
do spawn. Spawn. Yes. Are you going to do that toy, that maroon toy?
Who's going to be in Guardians of the Galaxy? Who do we know in that movie?
Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, you mean the one that comes out August 1st?
Yes, sir. See, Mr. Walker, Mr. Stan Lee, Guardians of the Galaxy. Did we ever get to answer your question?
No.
What's your question? What's your question?
The question for Stan is there a director alive today that you would like to see take on one of your Marvel creations that hasn't done so? And if so, what is that person's name and which Marvel creation? Thank you.
many questions, dude.
He wants to know, is there a director you would take on They have to get him to sign up.
Well, Fellini would have been great when he's dead. No, we've been lucky. We've had the greatest directors. Some of them, when they came on, I didn't even know who they were. I didn't know their names, but they did such a great job. Marvel has been lucky as hell, because apparently most of the directors love our characters, and they want to do those movies. And as you can imagine, the more successful the movies get, the more the directors want to do them. So they have no problem getting directors. Why they haven't asked me to direct one, I'll never know, but that's another subject.
James Gunn's a good director.
We just don't talk in the mic. I can't. Here's what it sounds like to me. We talk to the mic. Now he repeated what I just said.
Okay. For all you parents that have had 2 children, they're doing their baby talk right now.
Why I don't have too many friends.
Where's your next question coming from? Over here? Yes, yes.
I actually have 2 small ones, but the main one is, how did you come up with the Marvel dynamic?
The Marvel dynamic. What's the Marvel dynamic, baby?
Thank you.
The way you over-exaggerate all of your characters' motions, and,
What do you mean by that?
like, when they can't just pound on the desk, they have to, like, put their hand all the way up and then slam it down. Exactly, like that.
Like that.
What did she say? What did
Instead of just going like this on the desk, they go.
That's my fault. I used to tell the artists, even Jack Kirby, who is the greatest of them all, one day he drew a picture of, in the beginning, of the, who's the villain? Dr. Doom. He drew a picture of Dr. Doom sitting in a chair, which was like a throne, and he drew him like this. And I said, Jack, Dr. Doom wouldn't sit that way. He'd sit like this. That was about the only time I had ever corrected Jack Kirby in my life, because he was the best. But we did, with all the artists, with all the writers, I would say, if a guy does anything, let him do it in a dramatic, the most dramatic way. If he's angry, I don't want him just to be angry, I want him to be furious. And if he's in love, he's not just in love, he's captured by romance. In fact, wait a minute, I'll tell you something about McFarlane. I don't remember where it was, Todd, but you and I were on a platform somewhere, and I was mentioning you. He did a shot, or you were giving an example, I think. And it was something we both agreed on. If you draw Thor with a cape floating, there was something you said, if you draw Thor with a hammer, he wouldn't be like this. He'd be like this. Todd understands that so perfectly. It's one of the few things he does understand. Whatever emotion you have, whatever action you have, you carry it to the extreme.
So
I'm still talking. And it was brilliant too. It doesn't matter. You go ahead, waste a little time.
I will repeat what he's saying that he thinks you heard me say, although he has bad hair. That what the theory was is, comic books, for any of you guys out there or gals that want to draw, it's all melodrama, it's all Broadway. It's all Broadway, right? If you're on a stage, you don't act on Broadway so that you can sell whatever you're doing to the first 5 rows.
You overact for the last row.
Yes, it's for grandma that's got bad eyes. So what he's saying is, if you get hit, you have to overact it. So the theory I said with Thor was that I could take Thor in the most mundane situation and make him look cool, and the way that it worked was...
Mundane means a very simple, dull situation. For any DC readers out there.
And it went like this. Thor would be standing there, his legs would be apart, we go to 3/4, he's got the big cape, the cape is billowing in the back. Why? Because the wind's blowing. He's got his helmet on with the wings are twisted because again, the wind's going. He's got that cool hair that's going back, kind of Fabio-esque, and it's cut across his face, and he's holding that hammer down here in a clutch. You see all the veins in his arm? Lightning bolts are coming off the thing, off the hammer, and the dust is kicking up from all that energy. And the balloon says, pass the salt. But, darn it, that's the best pass the salt panel you're ever going to see. It's really what comic books about, just overselling. So,
I'm on a platform with someone. That someone is not supposed to be cleverer or more interesting than I am. I want you to forget everything you heard for the past 2 or 3 minutes. Jesus, McFarlane.
All right, we got another question.
So, Mr. McFarlane, how do you suppose that relates to comic book characters coming to life on film?
You've been sitting there for 5 minutes, that's all you can come up with?
But you know, we can't do that on film.
No, you can't do it. But if
That's a big difference.
If I was directing, here's what I would say. I would go look at the one thing that we can get away with artistically is we can do silhouettes, and our silhouettes can be different. You know who the king is, right? Superman's the king, right?
I hope you're following every word of this.
The Hulk is a brute, right? And Spider-Man is sort of this little pedestrian guy that sort of does the cool stuff. So for you, if you were going to be, let's say, Venom, then the moments that you show me anger and rage, then I need Venom. I co-created him. He's cool. So, if you're going to be Venom, then at the moment that you get angry, then sell the anger, right? Because what I don't want you to do is come in and go, I'm going to be giving my lines here, and now when you get angry, I want you to make my kids jump out of their seat and scare the crap out of them when you deliver those lines at the key moments, not all the time. I don't want you to scare this little kid right here all the time. I don't want you at that moment to just what's your name? Brienne. I want you to get into Brienne. I want you to be a good Venom. I want you to be there, and then I want you to go, and I want you to jump. Wow, that, you just made her jump? I need you to give me a couple of those during the movie, and I'll go.
Those are really cheap jump scares.
I have no idea what the man is talking about.
Okay.
What's your question, baby?
If I was a superhero, a character, would you make me a superhero or a villain?
Well, I would have to get to know her a lot better. But I think we'll all agree that the supervillain is the most interesting one. And you must be to have asked a fascinating question like that. I think I would make you a supervillain. And I want anybody sitting near her to change your seat. We don't know how dangerous she may be. Let me tell you something about Dr. Doom, speaking of that. You know, Dr. Doom is supposed to be a supervillain, but I want you to think about it. All he wants to do is rule the world. Now, that's not a crime. You can walk up to a policeman and you can say, officer, I want to rule the world. He has to arrest you. Anybody can want to rule the world. So Dr. Doom, to me, is not a villain. And you stop calling him one McFarlane. You hear that?
Yeah, man.
Dude, I didn't create him, you did. You forgot that part. That's on you, bud. That's on you. Where's
I gotta go. I'm gonna go now. That's a hot seat, man. I can feel the pressure.
All right, Michael Rooker, everybody. Give him a
you're staying.
Guardians of the Galaxy!
But you're my interpreter now. I'm along with them.
No, John, now. You know, we've worked together on 2 movies now.
You and I.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, see?
Well, maybe. I don't know. Do you have a thing in Guardians of the Galaxy?
A cameo.
You do?
A small supporting role.
Actually, I know. I wasn't sure if we were supposed to say that or not. Is it true, though?
Yes, but you didn't know about my cameo?
No, I've seen it.
Well, where did you see it?
I saw it on screen. You were
Well, what made you
totally-
suddenly decide he's leaving? When did you suddenly decide that?
Oh, I was sure something.
It was because you were talking so much.
Yeah, you know how he is.
I'll see you later backstage. We'll talk about it.
Later, alligator. Bye, guys.
Where's your next question coming from? Right here. Yes. Oh, look at that. Are you Venom or are you Black Costume Spider?
Venom.
Yeah.
What inspired you to making all these comic book characters?
Oh, it's a simple answer. Greed. I had a job, and I wanted to keep working so I could pay the rent. And my publisher kept saying, hey, that one is selling well, now dream up another. And if I hadn't dreamed up another, he might have hired somebody else to dream up the other, so it was my job. I was the editor and the writer of the Marvel things in the beginning, and I just kept doing it. I never thought that someday I'd be addressing an audience like this, or that Marvel would become so big. It was a job. I didn't want to get fired. That's what it was. And it turned out to be something very nice. And I thank you all for that, because if you hadn't bought the books, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be working somewhere. So thank you.
I just wanted to ask Stan if you've ever had a story that you would love to tell, but didn't think that it would work out quite well.
If I had a story I'd love to tell, I didn't hear the rest. Never. Everything I wrote, I loved. No, seriously, if I didn't like it, I wouldn't write it. Everything that I wrote was something that I wanted to say, and if I couldn't think of anything to say, I didn't write it. So maybe I'm the only author like that, but I love everything I wrote. I am my biggest fan. That's what I'm saying.
Where we at? Over here now or no? Yeah, back over here. Oh, back over here. Okay. Oh, Wolfie, what do you got? Look at
It gives him a feeling of power to be the one to point.
Yeah, Phil Donahue. Yes, sir. What would you like?
Who's your super favorite Marvel
Character? Okay. Let's go ask the man. Stan the man. Right? I'm Todd McFarlane. You remember that? He wants to know, of all the characters you've created, who do you have a favorite? Is there a favorite child?
You said he was cute. I hope he's like under 7 years old. And my favorite. I guess if I have to have a favorite, and I really don't, because they're all like my children, but if I had to have a favorite, it would have to be Spider-Man. Somehow or other, he has become like Mickey Mouse. He's all over the world. He's big in China. He's big in Europe. He's big all over. Everybody recognizes him. So I'd have to be kind of fond of him, I guess.
Is there any character traits? Why him?
Why him? I just told you why him. Well, he's big in a lot of other countries. Tell me, he's become like Mickey Mouse all over the world. People know him and love him. So how can I not love him? And besides, he's more like me than anybody.
All right, they're telling me we've got 3 more questions, and and
How
then
do you know there's only 3 more? What, something from up there came down and whispered that to you?
No, because we're engaging these good people.
I didn't engage you. I don't know what the hell you even got up here.
We got 3 more questions. Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering how many characters, if any, have a real life basis on people you've known throughout your life?
Oh, I'm sure. I don't think any writer writes any character without subconsciously thinking of people or movie stars or somebody who has those characteristics. But I don't do, there was only one character I wrote where I was really thinking of a person when I wrote him, and that was Tony Stark, whom you may know as Iron Man. I was thinking of, oh God, I have no memory. Who's the guy who made the plane that never flew? Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes. I was thinking of Howard Hughes. He was an adventurer, an inventor, a millionaire. In those days, being a millionaire was like being a billionaire today. And he was a genius, but he was also a little bit nuts. Well, we haven't made Iron Man nuts yet, but I thought it would be fun to take a character like Howard Hughes, who the readers shouldn't have liked, because he made armaments and he was part of the military-industrial complex. And in those days, the teenagers hated those kind of people. And I thought it would be a challenge, a fun challenge, to take a character like that and see if I could make him popular. So that's the one character that I wrote that I really was thinking of a person. Everybody else, just fiction.
Thank you. What's the next question? Over here on this side?
Okay, so like my question is what's the day in the life of Stan Lee? You know, like how does it feel? Like you can't go to the grocery store without people like, you know, like
A day in the life, what is that?
yeah.
Well, I will admit, people now do recognize me. When I go to the airport and they're searching, you know, you gotta put your arms out and they pat you down. I hope you don't mind, Mr. Lee, they say. So, and people stop me in this. It's funny. People used to stop you in the street if you were famous and ask for an autograph. Now they ask for an autograph and they say, can I take a picture of you? Because everybody has a little phone with a camera in it. So a lot of people do that in the street. And I got to admit, I love it. I don't get offended. I don't get angry. In fact, sometimes I pass somebody who doesn't say, hey, aren't you Stan Lee? I get a little offended. You recognize me? Where have you been?
Last question here. Yes, sir.
What was your inspiration or like creation idea for Spider-Man? Because that was my childhood hero, and I thank you for that statement.
Oh boy, it's a long story. How much time do we have?
Yeah, this is a good one, but we got all day. You're still
All right. It's not that good, because I talk a lot. I had just done whatever heroes I had done, maybe the X-Men and Fantastic Four, I forget which, and my publisher, who was a strange guy, but I won't discuss that now, but he said to me, hey Stan, I think we're on a roll. We have a couple of good-selling heroes. Come up with another one for me. So I wanted to keep my job, so I went home and started thinking. I saw a fly crawling on the wall, and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool to have a hero who could stick to the wall like it? No, I'm not telling the truth. In those days, they probably didn't have the word cool. I probably said, wouldn't it be groovy? Have a character crawl on the wall. So I thought, sort of like an insect. And then I thought, okay, now I need a name. To me, names are very important. Like the Hulk. I mean, you had to love a guy called the Hulk. Anyway, I thought, what do I call the guy? Insect Man? Nah, that didn't sound dramatic. Mosquito Man? Nah. And I went down the list and I got to Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Wow, I got my name. Then I decided to make him different. I'd make him a teenager. And finally, I thought to make the readers empathize with him, I'd give him a lot of personal problems. He'd be poor, he'd live with an aunt who's always sick, and stuff like that. So I went to my publisher the next day, and I was so excited. I told him my idea, and he said, "Stan, that is the worst idea I've ever heard." He said, "First of all, people hate spiders, so you can't call a hero Spider-Man. You want him to be a teenage hero? Don't you understand teenagers can only be sidekicks?" And then he said, "And you want him to have personal problems? Don't you know anything about superheroes? They don't have personal problems. They're superheroes." So I walked out of the office with my tail between my legs, but I couldn't get the idea out of my mind. So we were going to kill a magazine. I think it was called Amazing Fantasy. Now, when you kill a magazine, nobody cares what you put in the last issue, because you're killing it. So I thought I'd get Spider-Man out of my system. I'd put him in that magazine. And Steve did go through him. I gave it to Jack Kirby first, but he made him look too heroic. I said, I want him to be just an ordinary, klutzy kind of teenager. Gave it to Steve Ditko, who drew klutzy characters. And we featured him on the cover, and I forgot about it. About a month later, after the sales figures came in, my publisher came running into my office, and he said, "Hey, Stan, do you remember that Spider-Man character of yours that we both liked so much?" I swear. He said, "Let's make a series of it." And that's how Spider-Man was born.
Just so you guys know, Stan Lee is the only person in the comic book community that has his own star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He's the only one that that's a big deal, because all this stuff that I grew up with, that people kept saying you're a geek, you're a nerd, you have to hide it away from people, and we're going mainstream, right? We've now taken over, the meek have now inherited the earth. It's saying the geek have now inherited the earth.